I'm surprised that you think that they are aware that they have a problem.
I do. I just don't think they will not project that publicly, nor should they, because I think the Yankees like to keep that tight, which I do respect.
Right.
That's why they're pretty buttoned up, and there's really not a lot of leaks. I think that's good, and that's emblematic of a classy, well-run franchise. But I believe that they're already starting to devise a plan to switch things up.
See, the argument against is, and again, I just never have believed in Clay Holmes, period, as being the closer.
I think you were first on this.
Okay.
I give you credit.
Well, which is fine. I mean, this is dating back to last year, and I may not have been first, whatever. It's just how I feel. I just don't trust him, especially when you talk about the Yankees. Edwin Diaz isn't an all-world closer the way that he was in 2022 anymore, but I still trust him a lot more than I do Clay Holmes, and he has his issues too. So every closer, like you said, you mentioned the Yankee guys that could go with Johnny Franco or Armando Benitez.
Yeah, Franco, sure.
And those are good closers,
yep.
but just, it's just hard to trust. Clay Holmes maybe more so than others, and he has blown 10 saves. So
10.
We're not just making this up, but then if I ask you, well, where were the better options? I didn't really want Tanner Scott. Okay, he was one of the top arms. I wanted the Mets to get Estevez, so I guess if I wanted the Mets to get him, then the Yankees could have gotten him. But is he lights out, dominant closer? Where is the can't-miss arm that the Yankees missed on? Where are those closers? You look around the league. Look at Baltimore. Does Baltimore have a good pen? I wouldn't want Craig Kimbrell anywhere near my team. So, I hope that the Yankees could figure out a better answer at closer than Clay Holmes. I think that they made their bet. They're going to have to land it here.
Well, that's why I didn't give you external options, because I don't really disagree. What it would have taken to get closers in, different closers, it was the price was too exorbitant, too rich for the Yankees. And by the way, I agreed with them in doing that. I think they exercised pretty decent prudence with that, because I don't think anything's a sure thing in the back of the bullpen, no matter what kind of regular season numbers you put up. So I think it was kind of tough to for me justify giving up Spencer Joe or whatever it would have required to get some of these stud arms out there. But that's why I'm giving you internal options. That's why I'm sitting here saying it's not, and it's easy to just, here we are, middle-ish August, a couple of weeks after the deadline. Oh, Cashman missed this, which he did, but that's not the route. That's lazy, I guess, or it's just it's too easy. I'm coming with solutions.
Right.
Like the solution, there's two. There's two internal solutions. Figure out how many pitches you want Gil to throw. If you think he can push this forward through the end of October, he's the rotation. He stays there. Clarke Schmidt, you're the closer. If not with Gil, Clarke Schmidt in the rotation. Gil, you're the closer. There's the solution.
But there is still...
And then Holmes, it's the setup, man.
Understood, but there are still unknowns there. Like, we've never seen...
I got you, but at least those guys can strike him out. Certainly Gil.
I get it, but, Gil also walks the ballpark on occasion. You want that guy coming in the ninth inning, and all of a sudden, if it's a day he doesn't have command, you're screwed. So I understand why you're saying that, and if that were to be the case or the plan, then the Yankees should have been thinking about this beforehand, and it seems like they aren't. I asked Brian Cashman flat out when we had him on, what's the plan with Luis Gil? He basically said they're going to ride this out, until Gil gives them a reason to believe that they can't have him in the starting rotation, they're not moving him. And he was steadfast about Clay Holmes. I don't know. I like Luis Gil, and I think, okay, well, if you're going to try to preserve his innings, maybe use him out of the pen, but to throw him into the closer's role, same thing with Clarke Schmidt. Like, Clarke Schmidt has been a solid starter for them for a short period of time. You're going to tell me that he's going to be the closer more so than an all-star in Clay Holmes?
I'm not getting too wrapped up in the all-star tag. You know what I'm saying? Like, all-star. Does it look like an all-star?
No,
lately, has it?
He blew a bunch of saves early in the year, too. This is not... He is who he is.
He's got 10, Sal.
Yeah, I get it.
A couple more, he's going to finish up with 15 or 16. That's unacceptable.
I get it. And too many guys are putting it... When you put the bat on the ball and put the ball in play, bad things can happen.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to Clay Holmes. So they could say bad luck, but my goodness, if that happens, you think Clay Holmes is going to get through an entire postseason?
No chance.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't. You didn't have to finish the question. I know what you know. The answer is no, which is why I've come with solutions. Hopefully the Yanks are listening, and I know they are. 888-808-1019, BT and Sal. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. We'll get to the Mets and what happened over the weekend with them. Nimmo shoulder, the MRI today. Hopefully that works out well. Daniel Jones, we got a lot to unpack from that as well. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Let's get to you. It's BT and Sal on a Monday, kicking off a good. It's almost football season as well. Pete, Long Island. What's happening, Petey? How you doing?
Good, BT. How you doing? Long time listener, first time caller. I got a question and a suggestion. The suggestion is let's just go to Canely, give him a shot. And the question is, why does Holmes throws 60 to 70% of curveballs and sliders now when his bread and butter is that sinker.
The problem with the sinker, well, I don't want to geek this up and give you an answer and just try to sound smarter than I am. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know the actual answer to the sinker question. But Sal, even when, and again, I've given him credit, not that he's looking for it. Sal was the first person I heard say Holmes is going to be an issue. And I'm like, nah, man, he's got good stuff. He throws 99. He's got this 6 sinker. It's unhittable. He wound up being right. He's officially an issue. Every Yankee fan knows that. The Yankees know that, right? The thing, though, even though I was never as worried as Sal was, this is months ago, all right? A little more than that, too. I did have a slight reservation when your best pitch is a sinker, okay? And it doesn't start, basically, imagine the catcher's mask. If it doesn't start there and like the arm slot, whatever, is perfect, then if it's a little lower, it's going to be in the ground. And he's got a propensity, as we've seen, not only to give up soft contact, but also to lose the strike zone. So the sinker is incredibly effective to roll a double play, to keep it in the ballpark, obviously. But if it is not perfect, you're going to walk the ballpark.
Yeah, and they can continue to minimize it all they want. Say, it's a little blooper, or it's a little grounder, whatever. Well, it's happened already. He's blown 10 saves already. What makes you think that that's going to change come October? And again, I know that you can look around and say, well, who would you rather have? Hey, you know what? The Yankees needed to figure something out, because if I were saying this in March or April, holding them to a World Series standard. This wasn't projecting, Holmes is going to blow 10 saves and the Yankees are going to struggle in the regular season. This was saying, okay, when I look at this Yankee team, where are the spots that I say, well, this is going to hold them back from being a World Series team? And to me, one clear as day was Clay Holmes. I don't trust him in a big spot in a postseason. Now, that's played out in the regular season. Could things change in the postseason? They could, but based on what we've seen in the regular season, what would make you think that it's going to? If anything, you would think it's going to get worse, because it's going to be playing better teams with better hitters who are going to get, put more balls in play against Clay Holmes.
Yeah. Let's face it. I mean, the Yankees' defense in certain spots is pretty good. In certain spots, it's not.
Right.
You talk about the infield defense now, a bit of a revolving door at third base. Hopefully, Chisholm, and good to see him in the stands last night. That was a fun broadcast, by the way. And if he comes back outside of the one error that he had, he played very well at third. Can he keep it up in October? Maybe. But hopefully. But Torres is half a train wreck at second. Volpe's kicked a few easy ones this year, which is alarming. Rizzo was a good fielder, but he's not even playing. And if it's DJ or Ben Rice, So, I mean, the more balls that are put in play with an average to in certain spots, slightly below average defense, that's even more problematic. You have Ozzie Smith and, Brooks Robinson around and Joe Morgan triple around the horn. 888-808-1019, BT and Sal. We got Tommy in Howell, New Jersey. Tom, what's cooking?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
What's up, Tom?
Obviously no one's saying the Yankees made a bad trade or anything for Soto like that. And obviously, even as a Yankee, they already were transitioning him into a starter. But this is really where I think Michael King, if he was still around, he really could have been the closer of the future. And, obviously, even the Yankees were trying to make him into a starter at the end of the year.
Oh, he is a starter.
He was,
he's a starter.
But he was originally in the bullpen, and his stuff was lights out. He could have been the answer of the future.
Do you not want Soto? You want to give him back and go get Michael King?
That's what I started with. But I'm saying, but my point is that he was someone that was in the bullpen originally, and for some reason the Yankees were trying to make him into a starter when they clearly needed a closer even then.
Yeah, but you have to understand, at that point, they didn't have Stroman on the team. Rodon was a disaster. I mean, they have a whole lot of starting pitching either. Let me say one thing about Holmes, at least in his defense, while I don't trust him, and I do think they've got to really change that he can't be the closer. The one thing that I don't worry with him, and this is not the case with other closers who struggle, I don't think he's very combustible. I think he's got the right, in terms of mental temperament, I think he's got the right temperament. I don't see him getting, even his post-game interviews, when he chalks one up and blows one, he's not rattled, he's not phased, he's not overwhelmed. Now, what does that mean at the end of the day? Well, it means nothing if you don't get to 27.
Well, he's done it enough. He's got experience handling those situations. He's only blown 10 of them.
I hear you. But you know what I mean? There's certain closers, like think about Armando Benitez. You could can just see the wires getting crossed.
Well, even Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz gets a little skittish out there when things go awry. Chapman has shown the propensity, and I don't mean just physically, mentally to go a little awry. So, to be a closer, you've got to have a short memory, and I do think that Clay Holmes has that. He just doesn't seem to have the right repertoire to be the closer.
Forget Michael King. 2 reasons. 1, because you traded them for Juan Soto. So end of story. Like, you had to actually give to get when you're talking about Juan Soto. Number 2, he was transitioning to be a starter because that's what he is. Michael King is a starting pitcher. So yeah, he was terrific in the bullpen, but he's a starting pitcher. The guy that I thought, and I would say the majority, I'd be curious to get your take, BT, because we haven't talked about him much since we've been together as a show for a year, but the guy that I thought was going to take over the closer's role after Chapman was Jonathan Loáisiga.
Me too.
That was the guy who, when you watch him at his best, you're saying, okay, well, he's their closer. As a matter of fact, at the time, he was better than Chapman when they had Chapman. You're thinking, they got to transition now to Loáisiga. He could just never stay healthy, and that's a major issue. But Jonathan Loáisiga, I don't know if the Yankees' minds, I'm assuming, was going to be that guy and be their closer. He looked like a guy that, or projected to be a closer. I'd rather have a bullpen with Holmes into Loáisiga, but health has been a major issue for him.
I don't disagree. I mean, Holmes would be great 7th, great 8th. I mean, if you had, if you had Holmes 7th, Canely 8th, and Loáisiga 9th, I mean, that's pretty good.
And I don't
Seems
even know,
better than it is now.
I don't even know if it's still about like 7, 8, 9, but well, I mean, certainly the Yanks have had an issue just closing these games out with Holmes. But even who do you want facing the best part
That's
of it?
true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
In the 8th inning, if it's 2, 3, 4 coming up and you're up a run,
give me a closer.
Yeah, right. Go with your best arm, whoever that is at the time. You don't want Holmes facing those guys either. So.
Yep. And by the way, Goose Gossage, people forget this. Goose used to come in, I don't know if it was as early as the 6th, but Goose would come, like if the Royals had George Brett coming up and they had a couple of guys on base, whatever, you're not waiting until Goose is, okay, it's the 9th inning, get number 54 up. I mean, he would come in before the 9th inning, to your point. So I always agree with that.
We saw Buck do that with Diaz a couple of years ago.
Others have done it, no doubt. Luis is down in Florida, the free Odyssey app. Luis, BT, and Sal, what's going on?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
What's up, Luis?
We're good. How you doing, man?
Guys, I think Clay Holmes, I know a lot of people are not going to like it. I think he's the best option for the New York Yankees right now because there's no other option out there.
I gave you 2 of them, Luis. Luis, I gave you 2 of them.
Yeah. Give me them. Give me them again. My bad.
It's okay. Clarke Schmidt or Luis Gil.
You can't put those guys in the bullpen. They're not strikeout pitchers.
Okay, well, neither is Clay Holmes.
Well, that's the problem, right? So there's no strikeout pitchers out there besides Clase and Mason Miller. Besides those guys, who's the best closer in the American League?
I'm not worried. No. Listen, Lou, let me. I hear you, man. But just because there's a dearth of high caliber closers now, and I'm going to grant you that. And that's a cyclical thing. Certain years or certain decades, there's 5, 6 guys who are lights out. Others, it's fewer. So there's fewer now. Understood. But that doesn't mean what the Yankees have is acceptable or going to work.
Yeah, I think as New York fans, we've kind of been spoiled for so long with Mariano Rivera that we kind of want the best closer ever, closing our game.
No, I just don't want 10 blown saves by September 1st.
There's a difference, Luis, where you're talking about trying to win a World Series. Now, you can say, well, look at the competition as you did it. We talked about it earlier. Like, I get it, but the Yankees are going to be held to a higher standard, and just because the competition may not be there around baseball doesn't mean that it's okay to feel good about Clay Holmes in the postseason. He's blowing games in the regular season. What makes you think that he's not going to do that in the postseason? The Yankees should have figured out a way to upgrade that spot. They did not. End of story. Now, you want to tell me who that guy? Like, Tanner Scott was supposedly the best reliever on the market. Unfortunately, he can't find the strike zone. And that's not something that I could get behind. So I can't blame the Yankees for not going all in to getting him when he was the best arm, but the guy's got issues throwing strikes. So that's a question mark about it. All right, fine. But there had to be a way to upgrade over Clay Holmes because he just ain't it. And that was obvious going into the year.
And not only is Holmes and the Yankees certainly in need of an upgrade, but the moves they did make have blown up in their faces. Yeah. One guy's on the street and one guy's terrible.
Right. You could have gotten an arm, maybe not the best guy, but a guy who, hey, you know what? If he finds the right groove here, he could eventually take over if needed.
Correct.
Maybe they thought that was lighter. It's not.
It's not.